What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about on a daily basis. And I want to say happy Easter weekend to everybody here watching. And may God bless you. And let me know what you're doing here for Easter weekend. We're just having some family over and going to visit family here after filming. And we're filming just a little bit early here. And let me know your thoughts here in the comments if you're doing anything special here for Easter weekend, or if you're just hanging out with us for Easter weekend, our extended kind of YouTube family here. So yeah, happy Easter day here for everybody here in the comments. And as always, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's completely free to do so. Remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So first up, we have a lot of economists saying that we could be headed towards a new recession. Some people saying we're already in a recession. Yeah, so it's kind of weird how the economy, a lot of people went back to work, but now inflation has been so high and so hot. Now the Federal Reserve is starting to raise interest rates. In fact, a lot of other countries around the world have raised interest rates before the U.S. Before the U.S. In fact, our Federal Reserve has actually been one of the last to raise interest rates here, believe it or not. And former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers actually says that or said here that we are going to be headed towards a recession. Yeah, check this out.
Welcome back. It's likely that if on Inauguration Day, someone had told President Biden that more than a year later, he could have unemployment at 3.6% and dropping, wages in the stock market on the way up, and the housing market humming, he probably would have taken that deal. But there was fine print: inflation. It's at a 4-decade high, and that has Americans sour about the economy overall. In our latest NBC News poll, adults disapprove of President Biden's handling of the economy by a nearly 2-to-1 margin, and it only has continued to grow. One person who saw inflation coming is former Clinton Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, who is now also predicting the U.S. is likely to fall into a recession next year if things don't change quickly. And Larry Summers joins me now. Mr. Summers, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Good to be with you.
Let me start with, what did you see that so many others missed? You know, we've seen predictions of inflation over the last 40 years. You're the one that seems to have gotten the timing of this hit right. What did you see?
I saw that we had a tidal wave of demand between zero interest rates from the Fed, a huge outpouring of saving that people had pent up from the COVID period, and massive fiscal policy from the December bill and then the stimulus bill that was passed. It just seemed to me that demand was going to overheat. We were going to have labor shortages. The bathtub was going to overflow, so to speak, and the inflation rate was going to pick up. And I think that did happen. And then things that I certainly didn't see, and I don't think others could have seen, the Ukraine war and all of the interferences in supply associated with that have created a bit of a perfect storm.
I'm curious, is it possible that with COVID and all the disruptions that caused, did we have basically two choices, a recession in the moment or throw money at the problem and risk inflation? Were we sort of stuck between two bad choices here?
I think we had very, very difficult choices, and I think people with good faith made choices. And I think while I disagreed with them at the time, I think the choices reflected the consensus of many outside economists. I think we were too slow to pick up on how rapidly the economy was recovering, and therefore we injected more demand into the economy, both in terms of deficits and in terms of monetary policy, than looks today to have been the right amount. Some of it was we were buying an insurance policy that we turn out not to have needed.
Right.
Just like I bought life insurance last year, and in a sense I wasted my premiums, but in a sense it was necessary to spend that money. But I was concerned last year that we were injecting too much demand into the economy, given all the configurations. And I don't think it was a sound strategy to create as big labor shortages as the labor shortages that we did create.
So, a recession, is it inevitable or is there a way to avoid it?
Nothing is inevitable or certain in economics, Chuck. The painful fact, though, is that historically, when we've had inflation above 4 and we've had unemployment below 4, essentially always since World War II, that's been followed by a recession within the next 2 years. Perhaps we will be fortunate and there'll be sufficiently rapid adjustments in commodity prices and other bottlenecks that will make that not happen. Perhaps the Fed will be extraordinarily skillful. But I think the Fed, and lucky, but I think the Fed has a very, very difficult job. I think we can make a contribution by doing things like the Strategic Petroleum Reserve release that holds down where oil prices would otherwise go. I think it's a time when we need to be looking at tariff reduction, because potentially that could take a percentage point off of the CPI. I think we need to look wherever we can at buying things more inexpensively when the federal government is purchasing. We need to look at immigration flows so as to address this labor shortage. But it's not going to be easy starting from where we are.
You believe most of the work probably has to be done by the Fed. But if for some magical reason the administration could get something passed with this Congress and of the agenda, and you've been a supporter of most of the Build Back Better agenda, what should be focused on that actually could reduce inflation and avoid a recession?
I think probably the most important thing, ironically, is some of the revenue increases that the president has talked about. Be very substantial benefits to closing a whole range of tax loopholes.
What kind of tax?
And
Because you don't like the billionaire tax.
Yellen's.
You don't like the billionaire tax. What kind of tax would you
I don't like the. You're right. I don't like. You're right. I don't like the billionaire tax, but I do like the provisions that really go after corporations shielding money in the Cayman Islands, shielding money in Ireland. We negotiated a historic agreement to enable the world to tax global corporations, which it was losing the ability to do. And that agreement could fail if we don't do our part to implement the U.S. measures that are part of it. And we'd sacrifice a lot of revenue and pump up a lot of demand. So I think that is a very important set of steps. I think it's important to remember that over the longer term, the president's infrastructure bill is going to increase the capacity of the economy, and that will be a favorable development. But over the nearer term, I think the concentration on revenue is probably most important. For other reasons, I'd very much like to see the green investments that the administration is proposing, which over time will reduce our dependence on fossil fuels.
Yeah, so let me know your thoughts. Do you think we're headed for another recession? Basically, we had the pandemic, we had the country closed down here, and really we were maybe just starting to come out of it. We had unemployment go back down. People were starting to go back to work. And then now inflation has hit a 40-year high. Um, this is a world problem. You know, Canada has a 30-year high inflation. United Kingdom, China, all I don't know about all countries, but a vast majority of countries are dealing with this around the world. Global high oil prices, gas prices, food prices have hit a all-time record high here globally. Globally, in fact, the United Nations has said that this virus has this pandemic has forced 77 million people into extreme poverty globally. um, the United Nations has said here. So yeah, that's a lot of people, and yeah, so yeah, this is coming from the United Nations, not from the United States. The United Nations, yeah, and also remember that here. U.S. virus cases are actually on the rise now. We're up to almost 50,000 cases a day here again. April 15th, 46,708 cases. But what I wanted to say here is that we're almost at 1 million deaths here in the U.S. Yeah, almost 1 million people have died from this pandemic. I mean, think about that, 1 million people. Yeah, and when you look at worldwide here, 6.2 million people. Yeah, that's a lot of people. You look at the breakdown here. United States, India, 500,000 people. Brazil, 662,000. France, 141, and Germany, 133. And of course, you notice that China, which is has 4 times the population of the United States, isn't anywhere on here. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, you find that odd that China, which has 4 times the population of the United States, isn't anywhere on here. Find that a little bit strange? Yeah, a little bit strange there. Yeah, yet they'll lock down 50 million people and not let their leave their homes, but they won't actually report to us how many people actually have the virus or have passed from the virus. So you really don't even really know what's going on there. Yeah, yeah. So um, who knows how bad it's been there? Remember, they have 4 times the population of the U.S. So if you think if you just go by round numbers, if they've had 4 times the amount of people that have died of the U.S., that's 4 million people. It's a lot of people. That- but they don't really report that. So who knows? And really, with a new recession on the way, potentially, some people say it's maybe already here. Um, you got to kind of wonder what the federal government is going to do about this here. You got to remember we had stimulus check one, stimulus check two, stimulus check three. We had rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance. Some of which of that is still going on here. Videos showing you how to get that. It's free to apply. And I've had literally thousands of people saying, "Thanks for showing me how to do this." And rent assistance, you can get up to 12 months of your rent paid. Utility assistance, several $100s, sometimes over $1,000. Some of that you can get every single year, especially if you know how to do it. Homeowners assistance, you can get up to $80,000 in some states, or just think about it as a lot of money if you get the homeowners assistance. And rent assistance has been replenished here in a lot of states as the federal government is sending a new round of money here. New, yeah, that's just pretty much the easiest way to say it. A new round of money here for states here, and new stimulus money. So yeah, there's still new stimulus money. We got SNAP money coming here. The the federal government just replenished that or renewed that for 90 days, and that also extends the pandemic EBT as well. So, and of course, another big question is what is going to happen here with the stimulus checks and the $800 billion that is sitting there as well. Of course, if you've been watching my channel, multiple different states are now passing as well as in the process of going through state stimulus checks, property tax stimulus checks, lowering their state taxes, taxes for seniors, as well as checks for children as well sometimes, and lowering their taxes on groceries, taxes on gas taxes, and some states are actually doing stimulus checks for vehicle owners, which is a little bit different, but pretty much the same thing. Some states like California are considering, last year California did what I would call like regular stimulus checks, people that made under $75,000 and filed a income tax return, so they knew how much you made. Got the California Golden State stimulus check, they called it. This year, they might be doing sending out checks to vehicle owners, $400 per person, $800. We have the Pennsylvania governor who just proposed $2,000 stimulus checks. And New Mexico just passed $500 per person stimulus checks. I believe it's $1,000 per married couple. They're going to go out in 2 rounds. So there's going to be 2 sets of checks. So I think it's individuals get $250 2 times. And then married couples get 2 checks as well. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. If you've been watching my channel, I'm trying to keep you up to date here with all these different state checks. It's kind of a snowball effect because all these different states are like, well, all these states around me are doing it, so we better do it here as well. Missouri just had one. Yeah, I've had a lot of people say Missouri will never do it, and then Missouri just came out with one. It was kind of an interesting situation there where the Democrats proposed it, and the Republicans said shot it down. But then the Republicans came out with their own plan like a few days later. So really, whatever works, right? Whatever works. So I'll keep you up to date here with everything. It's really there's a lot. There's state stimulus checks, there's federal stimulus checks, rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance, and it's an election year, not for the president, but for mostly everybody else. So I will keep you up to date here with everything. So make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click here to watch my newest video next. This bottom video is how to apply for utility assistance. This top video here is how to apply for rent assistance, get up to 12 months of your rent paid from the last stimulus package. And this video over here is how to apply for homeowners assistance. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.